in education and research. Equally important is collaboration in tackling urgent threats posed by climate change. By sharing research findings on the climate impact, adaptation strategies, and disaster risk management, including rise in the sea level and outbreak of hurricane, we can deepen our understanding and enhance collective resilience. Joint efforts in promoting sustainable agricultural practices and addressing issues such as flooding and drought will also contribute to food security and reduce climate vulnerability in both our regions. It is essential that we invest in cultural and human exchanges that build mutual understanding from the ground up among our peoples, from ordinary to the leadership. I encourage the integration of Nigeria and OECS cultural awareness of our shared heritage, values, and traditions among future generations. Beyond education, we must also encourage more frequent visits between our peoples, allowing them to experience firsthand the unique cultural attractions and the historic sites that define our identities. In a concrete step towards this goal, Nigeria is open to exploring a visa waiver arrangement for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states traveling to Nigeria. I respectfully urge a reciprocal gesture to enable smoother movement of officials and foster closer institutional cooperation. Furthermore, Nigeria is ready to extend the services of Nigeria Technical Aid Corps to OECS countries. Will we provide skilled professionals to support capacity building effort across all sectors in your region? Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in consideration of the strategic importance that my country attracts to OECS, we have formally established diplomatic relations with St. Lucia. This diplomatic move is a symbolic bridge that will provide a gateway in fostering ties between us. To further deepen our partnership, I recommend that our two parties initiate negotiations towards a formal agreement on a joint commission or political consultation, such as framework that will provide structural platform to explore and advance cooperation across a broader range of mutually beneficial areas. Let me once again reaffirm Nigeria's commitment to nurturing the seed of friendship and solidarity we have planted here today. We value this relationship and are determined to see it flourish in the spirit of brotherhood, shared history, and vision of greater prosperity for our people. As we chart the course forward, I am reminded of this word of Marcus Garvey: get organized, and you will compel the world to respect you. A charge remains as resonant today as it was first made, Likewise, an African proverb teaches us, and I quote, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Let us journey together, united in purpose and fortified by our common heritage. You and I have it enshrined in our DNA. Africa belongs to all of us. Today, to continue to promote that, I will establish full scholarship tuition for students of OECS. From cultural and student exchanges, I believe we can promote that economic and cultural understanding that we further strengthen the bond between us. I thank you very much for listening to me and giving me this opportunity. God bless St. Lucia, God bless OECS, and God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Honorable Prime Minister and member for Castries East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Excellency, President of Nigeria, heads of state of OECS, members of Parliament of St. Lucia, our friends from Nigeria, good morning. First of all, Mr. President, let me thank you for the great news of the scholarships to the people of St. Lucia. It falls in line with our government's policy of providing every household in St. Lucia with one university graduate. Thank you, sir. Our dear friend and respected President of Nigeria, President Tinubu, it's a great honor and a deep and heartfelt joy to welcome you and your distinguished delegation to my beautiful island home of St. Lucia. Mr. President, I have no doubt that you have been able to tell from the landscape and the people that you have met that St. Lucia has much in common with Nigeria, a small fragment of Africa. Our peoples have been separated, but nothing has ever been able to separate us spiritually and culturally from West Africa, where some of our ancestors came from and for whom our hearts continually yearn. We are African people who have made permanent homes for ourselves on this side of the Atlantic, on the hills and valleys of the plantations on which we were enslaved, and along the seashores and the waterways that carried the slave ships which brought us here. But we have built these homes, Mr. President, not for ourselves, but in the service of all humanity, and especially Africa, in whose direction we continually watch, wait and hope and pray for our future redemption. Because we know, Mr. President, that Africa's future greatness will be our future greatness. Just as we know that Africa's current strides and successes are equally registered as successes for St. Lucia and for the Caribbean as a whole. It is for these reasons, Mr. President, that we feel untold joy, honor, and pride that our countries have taken this important step of reconnection at such an important moment in world history, when new alliances and realignments are taking place before our very eyes, when change is coming, and when the future role of Africa in the modern world can no longer be denied, but is on everyone's lips. St. Lucia is pleased to be standing at this important juncture with Nigeria by our side. But, Mr. President, I understand that St. Lucia, with a population of just over 180,000 people, is tiny compared to the mighty Nigeria with over 3 million. 300 million. St. Lucia's population is smaller than that of Etiosa, local government in Lagos State. And your long-time residence on Bordello Street. But, Mr. President, despite its size, St. Lucia stands proud as a sovereign nation with a heart and spirit deeply connected to the world, to Nigeria, and to West Africa. We have a genetic Nigerian connection that cannot be erased, and a shared cultural cord that cannot be broken. We host a vibrant Nigerian community which continues to support and develop the island's healthcare, religious, and tourism sectors. We warmly welcome every Nigerian hand of support, and we embrace with gratitude the contributions to St. Lucia culturally, socially, and economically. Mr. President, you may be pleased to know that the parish priest in my constituency is from Nigeria. Mr. President, St. Lucia accepts your visit as an excellent opportunity to rekindle and deepen the existing bonds between our people and our countries. We recognize that despite the miles which separate us, and despite the differences in our land and population sizes, we have always been able to contribute mutually to each other's development. Despite our differences, we share the common strength of the quality and resilience of our people. Our people have always been aware of themselves as global citizens and has been among the best in the world in their respective fields. Many of our younger populations have forgotten that during the colonial period, significant numbers of Caribbean workers, including from St. Lucia, worked in the colonial service in Nigeria, particularly in the railway sector, but also in the wider civil service. Nigeria and St. Lucia also share a special pride in literary achievements. Two of the 3 black Nobel laureates for English literature have come from our 2 countries. Nigeria's Wo Lisol Inca in 1986, and St. Lucia's own Derek Walcott in 1992. And the third being the female American novelist Toni Morrison in 1993. Mr. President, the legacies continue to inspire our people. We boast of a 2nd Nobel laureate, Sir Arthur Lewis, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1979, and had himself been a close advisor to the first Prime Minister of Ghana. It would interest you to know that one of St. Lucia's distinguished jurists, Sir Danny Alexander, served as Nigeria's 4th Chief Justice from 1975 to 1979. Mr. President, your visit here today is coming exactly 27 years after the visit of Nelson Mandela, and 27 years is exactly the length of time Mandela spent in prison. So today is really a day of freedom and celebration. Mr. President, we have to ask ourselves why we have not had a more impressive record of Africa-Caribbean cooperation. Indeed, Mr. President, it was not until 2021 that the first Africa CARICOM Summit was held, almost 70 years after the independence of Ghana and 61 years after the independence of Nigeria. However, Mr. President, I'm pleased that following this first summit in 2021, we have committed ourselves to deeper relations and that we are committed to meet for the second summit in Addis Ababa in September of this year. St. Lucia looks forward to working with Nigeria at the Africa CARICOM Summit level as we work towards the joint development of our respective nations. Mr. President, the areas for our continued and future cooperation remain wide, varied, and fruitful. We are a small island state with tourism as our main economic driver. Currently, St. Lucia hosts over 1 million tourists annually. However, we have very few Nigerian visitors. We would like to host far more Nigerian visitors and hope that the time when Nigerians discover the hospitality of St. Lucia is very near. However, there are currently no direct flights connecting Nigeria and the Caribbean. Establishing an airlink would do much for St. Lucia's tourism and the wider Caribbean. St. Lucia would gladly be a facilitator if such a venture were to be economically viable. This connectivity will not only boost tourism, but also enhance trade, investment, and it will deepen the people-to-people exchanges and the cultural links between our populations. Mr. President, our peoples have never waited on the government to reach to Africa. Decades ago, Caribbean reggae artists like Garnet Silk made it their business to compose music which wrote letters of longing saying hello to Mama Africa. And Bob Marley sang the Pan-African song that calls for Africa to unite. Today, the young people of St. Lucia have rediscovered Afrobeats and Nigerian Nollywood films as the new vehicle for which they have reconnected to the African continent. Our appreciation of Nigerian musical taste and talent is deep, lasting, and strong. Only last year, Nigerian styles like Roga performed at the St. Lucia Jazz Festival, joined the ranks of previous Nigerian artists who are thrilled local and Caribbean audiences. And Mr. President, let me invite you to St. Lucia's next Jazz Festival. The infectious beats of Afrobeats and Nollywood films have a cherished hair and have become part of the cultural fabric, and your famous female writer, Ngozi Adichie, is on the reading list in many secondary schools in our Caribbean. Mr. President, given our historical connection, shared cultural tastes, and existing friendship, it's my sincerest desire that we find ways to strengthen the cultural and economic ties that already exist between our two countries. If I may be more specific, I would like to encourage collaboration in the creative industries and foster exchange programs between Nigerian and St. Lucian artists, musicians, and filmmakers. In the area of sports, there are several opportunities for developing exchange programs in cricket and football among lovers of the two sports in our respective countries. I'm certain that Nigeria could be of great benefit in enhancing the skills and technical abilities of our aspiring St. Lucian footballers, and we can do the same for Nigeria in cricket. Mr. President, St. Lucia's banking sector is robust and growing and welcomes reputable Nigerian banks, investment houses, and fintech companies as partners in expanding investment opportunities and modern digital financial services. In our drive for greater use of renewable energy, we welcome Nigerian renewable energy companies to bring their technology, expertise, and equipment to support the island's sustainable renewable energy mix. Your country's regulatory and technical experience in the energy sector could help us accelerate the necessary reforms in our infrastructure. With an aging population, our healthcare system is in need of strengthening. So our doors remain open to Nigerian doctors, nurses, and specialists under Nigeria's talent export initiatives. Such a collaboration will enhance healthcare access and outcomes, potentially serving as a model for the wider Caribbean. I'm told that an agreement of technical manpower assistance will be signed with the Ministry of Health regarding our exchange of medical personnel from Nigeria, and I look forward to its implementation. Mr. President, it's my hope that this will not be your last visit. I look forward to visiting Nigeria in the near future. I also look forward to the day when we can formalize significant national partnerships and investment agreements that will be of mutual benefits to our two countries. I also look forward to continuing work with you as we advance the work of the Africa-CARICOM Summit later this year in Ethiopia. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of St. Lucia, I extend once again a most heartfelt welcome. We are honored to have you, and we are pleased to stand alongside you on this historic occasion. May your visit mark the beginning of a new era of deep friendship, cooperation, and shared success between our people. I thank you, Mr. President, and God bless Nigeria and St. Lucia and our united futures. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on behalf of the people and Parliament of St. Lucia, I extend our heartfelt gratitude for your historic address during your official visit. Your presence marked a profound moment in our shared journey as descendants of a common heritage, and your words resonated deeply with our aspirations for unity, progress, and mutual respect. Your emphasis on strengthening ties between Africa and the Caribbean, particularly in areas such as economic development, education, health, and infrastructure, will inspire renewed commitment to collaboration. We are especially moved by a recognition of our cultural bonds and the enduring spirit that links our peoples across oceans. Your visit has not only honored our nation, but has also reaffirmed the importance of global solidarity rooted in shared values and history. We look forward to building on this foundation with purpose and pride. With heartfelt gratitude and highest esteem, we thank you, Mr. President. Deputy Prime Minister and Member for Castries South.
Move that the Honorable House of Assembly be adjourned to Thursday, July 3rd at 10 a.m.
Honourable members, the question is that this House stand adjourned to 10 a.m. on Thursday, the 3rd of July. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Sitting adjourned.
We've just witnessed the special joint sitting of the Senate and House of Assembly, and we heard from the President of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We also heard from the President of the Senate, Honorable Alfino Reynolds, as well as our very own Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, with the Speaker of the House, Honorable Claudius J. Francis, bringing the curtains down on the formal aspect of the proceedings. And to me, it resonated deeply that all of the speakers affirmed that we already share very deep and strong ties with Nigeria, and it is only natural that we come together and recognize formally our development bonds. There was something special for every sector of development in St. Lucia. The President touched on the area of health. He touched on agriculture. He touched on the creative industry, education, and it just sounds, colleagues, like there is